Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirit. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you for joining this deep dive episode. I'm very excited to share with you that, as you can see, my co-host is with me, Kristina Bloom. I'll get to you in a moment, young lady, but we are going to be discussing in this episode paranormal adventures. So we're going to be diving deep and just sharing each of our adventures and maybe some tips and some guidelines, some help to keep you curious where all things that go bump in the night are concerned. Keep it clean,
Sounds
people.
Good. Sounds good.
Excellent. So, Kristina Bloom, how the heck are you? It's been a while since we've connected.
It has been. You know, it's so weird because I've only been back in the States from England, 5 weeks now? And it in some ways it feels like it was yesterday, and in other ways it feels like I haven't seen you in years.
It's weird, that, isn't it? It's weird.
It is. Time is warping. Time is warping. I don't know, it's crazy. Yeah.
Definitely. So what have you been up to since we last connected?
Oh my gosh, let's see. Since we last connected, let's see. Well, I've lived through a tornado.
Come on, you can't leave people hanging with that. Explain.
Okay, so I drove 9 hours to Bemidji, Minnesota.
As you do.
As you do, because it's what I do, to do a 2-day event in Bemidji, Minnesota. It was a psychic fair. And the night before the psychic fair, a tornado came through. But I was, well, it's actually a straight wind, like 106 mile an hour straight wind that went for like, I don't know what they said, 30, 45 minutes, something like that. It like tore up the town. It tore up the town. It was bad. But I wasn't in town. I was 20 miles away at a campground sleeping in my car because, you know, I bought that new car so I could sleep in it because it's a little SUV. I'm short. I fit. It's all good, right? So I'm 20 miles away at a campground sleeping, and I showed up in the morning, and I'm just like watching. I'm driving through town in Bemidji looking at all of this destruction, like parts of roofs laying in the road and just trees uprooted. And I mean, there were some trees uprooted at the campground, but none of them blocked me from getting where I was going. I think they had some people out like right after the storm, moving trees out of the way because you could see like sawdust on the road where they had cut the trees that fell across the road. But obviously the event was canceled. But I walked into the hotel where the event was. There's no power in the entire town at this point. Like there's no electricity anywhere.
Wow.
And I walked in and a whole bunch of my fellow vendors and readers were like, just hugging me. I just had people all over me hugging me like, oh my God, you're alive, because they knew that I was at a campground. And I slept. Car camping. And I got the notification on my phone, but I slept through it. I slept through the whole thing. I slept through the whole storm. And when I showed up there, like everybody else had been awake since like 1 a.m. when this whole storm thing went through. And I'm like, I don't know. I slept fine. How are you guys doing? I literally slept through it. So that was fun. So then I just turned around, drove 9 hours back home again because we couldn't do the fair. I mean, first of all, the whole town is ripped up. Who's going to go to the fair, right? And the building was leaking. Part of the roof was missing on this fancy hotel. And it was a really nice hotel. But like, waterfront. All the docks had been blown away.
Whoa.
At the waterfront, it was a mess. They're still cleaning up the mess. And then they got, like the next 3 nights, they got storms again. So they were out of power for a long time. And it was hot, like during the day. It's like the storm would come through and then it would get really warm. So I looked up the conversion. And the conversion would have been like 32, 33 centigrade.
Wow.
So it was like,
I'm melting in my
I
world.
felt
I'd be like that in that heat.
exactly. It
Wow.
was crazy. Yeah. So I mean, the fact that I got through that, there's no damage to my car. I slept through the whole thing. To me, that was kind of like, my Bigfoot guide really had me. He was really protecting me.
Somebody was looking out for you, definitely.
Yeah.
How was
And
everybody else in that campground, or was you the only person there?
no, there were lots of people there. There was, as I was driving through just to drive out, because I don't know, well, I don't know what campgrounds are like there, but everything is one way, right? So you go around this loop, and that's where all the campsites are. And
Yeah.
for like 4 different loops, there was one building that had showers and flush toilets. And that building was completely surrounded by water.
Whoa.
Was, yeah. So that building was completely surrounded by water. But as I was driving on the loop that I was on, there was a tree that came down, and there were 2 tents, one in front of the other in that campsite, and the tree came right down next to both of them. Missed
Whoa.
it, missed it by maybe, what is that, 6 inches, maybe? I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, it was less than a foot. It was, yeah, it was crazy.
Very lucky people there and on that
Yeah, I mean,
campsite.
I can't even imagine how loud that must have been when that tree hit the ground
And
next to
you
their
didn't
tent.
wake up.
Well, no, I slept through the whole thing.
That says a lot about you, that does, right there.
I just slept through the whole thing. I mean, it's not my first tornado, right? But I mean, when I was a kid, we had a tornado. But yeah, that was a pretty exciting thing. And then you said, what else have I been up to? I went axe throwing this weekend.
Axe, as in like a chopper
As
axe.
in like a chopper.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes. Yeah, there's a place set up by my
Okay.
sister-in-law's house, and they have like 10 lanes. It's kind of set up like darts or bowling kind of a thing, but they have
Yeah.
metal mesh cages in between each one. So if an axe goes sideways, it just bounces off the cage and into the sawdust on the floor. But yeah, so you just project pictures up onto the wood, and your team, everybody gets
Pause a
two
minute.
tries.
Rewind. Project pictures. Can you?
Images.
Oh,
Yeah,
images. So there's a
images.
projector that goes onto
There's,
where the board
yeah,
is. Okay.
there's a projector. It's run with a keyboard and a mouse, right? So you like it brings up, you bring up a screen, and then you can pick whichever screen you want to throw
Okay.
axes at.
Can you put
So
ex-partners up on there? Just asking for a friend.
asking for a friend. I thought about it. I thought about it. I also thought about certain political figures, but we'll just let that go. So,
Okay.
but no, I mean, with the first one we just had a target, like for bow and arrow, just the round target thing.
Yeah.
And the second one we brought up zombies, so we were like throwing hatchets at zombies. It was fun. It's not something that I would normally do. I'm not big into weapons, but it was fun. It was a kind of a good release of energy, and
I bet. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I bet you
Fortunately, no one thought to take a picture of me trying to throw an axe, because I'm sure it was awkward at best, but
discovered muscles that you never knew you had as well, didn't you?
yeah, I'm actually more sore today than I was yesterday. That was Saturday night that we
Uh,
went, but yeah.
I can imagine you like one of the world famous tennis players, female tennis players, grunting away there with every throw of the axe that you took part in. Is that
I was
true?
throwing two-handed,
What?
like holding it over my head
All right.
and throwing it out. Yeah, I'm
Wow.
sure it looked ridiculous, but that's okay.
That must
I
be
had
the
fun.
Viking in you.
It must be. What
Brilliant.
have
So you,
you been up to?
what
What
have
have you
I
been
been
up
up
to
to?
since the last time we
Last time we
hung
met,
out?
I've been doing a lot of studio work, as you know.
Right, working
Working
on our show, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Very excited about that. We can go into a little bit of that in a moment. I've just found the workload has just increased since I last saw you. It's been like 7 days, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And yeah, I had an influx of clients and people
awesome.
interested in what I do. So that's always good. I've been doing some paranormal events as well, with the Ghost Finder Paranormal events team.
Mm-hmm.
And we managed to go to, where was it? Was it Shrewsbury Prison? Went there. We went to a Victorian
Okay.
swimming baths, and then we've just recently this weekend been to Dudley Castle in Birmingham. So three completely different venues,
Yeah,
and
very
some
different.
amazing captures and interactions with spirit there, all very different. So I've been doing that, plus being adulting, being a dad, a parent, and you could say at times it's like herding cats. But no, I'm quite fortunate. You've met my
Yeah.
girls. They're lovely
Yeah,
girls, and
they are.
they don't offer any problems as such. Other than leaving things lying about in the
As
home.
you do. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing that. What else have I been doing? I haven't been
Oh,
out.
you know what we did? We did
Yeah.
a paranormal investigation together.
Oh yes, tell people about this
Yeah.
because
Okay, so
this
I
was
was at, yeah.
it. It was bizarre. Go on.
Okay. So I went with a team. Actually, it was kind of a conglomeration of teams, like just random people who went. And it was at Ashmore Estates in Ashmore, Illinois, which was built to be a poor farm. So people who had nowhere else to go would go live at this poor farm and work the farm to earn their keep. Okay. So it's not as idyllic as it sounds, believe me. it was it was a rough life. But anyway, so it's like this 3-story brick building, and we were doing the Estes method. And for those who don't know what that is, it's that one person is receiving messages, but they're doing it through like an EVP or through a spirit box that goes into a headset like we're wearing, and then a blindfold, so that you are basically the only thing that you're getting is the noise through the headset. Otherwise, it's just what do they call that? Deprivation. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
senses or whatever. So I had never done it before, and Glenn and I, and we've worked together, and we've worked together now extensively. And
Hmm.
so I'm like, he asks really good questions. So out of the blue, Glenn is at home, chilling out on his couch, watching TV. And I call him. I'm like, hey, Glenn, want to play? And he's like, what do you mean? So we got Glenn hooked in to a laptop where we could communicate through, what was it? Was it through Facebook Messenger, I
I
think?
think so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then we also had another gentleman who is American but serving in Kuwait in the military. And he was also brought in. So we had the two of you on the screen, and then I know it was me for a while on the screen when I was doing the Estes method. But yeah, it's an interesting thing if you've not done it. It's an interesting thing to do because you, with the person with the headset, can't hear the questions that are being asked. You're just giving the answers that come through. And what I found interesting was because I have a little bit of a hearing issue, I would hear the static change, and then intuitively something would come to me. So I would say what was coming to me intuitively. Now, I have no idea, even now, which questions were asked.
It was very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I may share my side of
please.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously I was chilling out on the settee. There's a time lag. Is it 6 hours? You're 6 hours.
6 hours. Yeah.
And so this was the last thing I was expecting. I thought, well, I'm just going to put my feet up. The thing was, I was start to watch a paranormal TV show, just about settled down. I was thinking, oh yeah, but maybe this is the universe at play. I was thinking, I bet that would be cool to investigate a place over there in the USA. The next minute, I get this call from yourself there, Kristina. Do you want to come and play? I'm like, whoa, they answer pretty quick. The universe does.
You're a good manifester.
Well, Well, I need a little bit of that, so I'll
Yeah.
let you know when I've perfected it. But anyway, yeah, you invited me along, and you had a wonderful team around you, lovely souls, lovely people, very accommodating, and yeah, you were good enough to take me round this establishment, this venue, um, and you was asking what I was picking up, and I was sharing, and then you was going to those areas. And what I liked about that is that you were giving me feedback of what my guides were telling me for you to go to, and you was
Right.
getting hits and hits. So
Right.
that teamwork continued to work via the internet with our
Yeah.
mediumship. So I found that amazing.
I did
Amazing.
too, but I mean, it's like maybe the audience doesn't know this. We literally live 4,000 miles away from each other.
Yeah.
And we were doing this. So that just proves to me one more time energy does not depend on proximity. We don't have to be close to each other for energy to be working,
Not
for
at all.
energy to be
Yeah.
connecting. It just, yeah, it was really incredible.
So I
Yeah.
love that. And I sat through with you via the laptop.
Yeah.
You was doing what was it? You was doing some audibles. Was it audibles in the room?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
EVPs. We were
that was
doing
it. Yeah.
EVPs. Yeah.
And then you went in the basement as well. That was interesting. There's a portal there, and you was getting a lady through, and you was helping a lady, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Um, it was incredible. I loved it. I came away from that buzzing as if I've literally physically been on one with you. And it took me a
Right.
while to just settle
Down.
down, pop it.
I drove home 5 hours after that. So
Whoa.
yeah, that was a 5 hour drive for me. But
So,
it
yeah.
was a pretty incredible thing. It was the first time I'd met my previous producer in person, Todd Bates.
Wow. Okay.
I had not met him or his lovely bride to be, Sherry. And Nicole had been on a different show that was doing, Red Road Paranormal. She had been a guest on there. So Nicola was actually the one carrying you around with the laptop.
She was very, very gentle with me. I'll put it that way. Yeah,
She
she
was
was
very gentle
very
with you.
respectful.
Yeah. She's like, I don't want to make anybody sick. And that was down 3 flights of stairs to get from where we started to the boiler room in the
She did
basement.
a
So,
great job. Yeah, great
yeah,
job.
she did a great job. Yeah, it was fun. So,
What a
thank you. Thank you for being willing to answer the phone and play
Well,
at
thank
short
you. It was a
notice.
lovely surprise. I
It
really
was
enjoyed
fun.
it. You made my day that day. So now we've caught up. Let's crack on
Yeah.
with today's episode. We're
Yeah,
talking
let's
about
do that.
paranormal adventures. So it is kind of relevant what we've just been talking about,
Well,
isn't
we
it?
just had, several paranormal adventures
We
together in
have.
the, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
recently.
we
So,
could talk. Yeah, we could talk a lot about that. But
mhm.
let's start with what got you into paranormal investigations? Because obviously you're a medium, but not all mediums
Right.
like to do these things, do they?
Right,
So,
right.
what got you into it?
It was boy, this goes back to wow, 2004, I believe it
Okay.
was. I was moving to the West Coast to the Seattle area, and there was a paranormal team already waiting for me through a friend, and that's how I got into it. I moved there, and they wanted me to join the team. So because we had done a long distance healing with one of the members,
Hmm.
and she was dealing with cancer at that point, and it was a few days after that that she had an appointment, and there was marked improvement in her physical issue. So after doing that long distance healing, and then they wanted me to join the team, so I joined the Washington State Paranormal Investigation and Research Group. So that's how I really got into doing paranormal investigation. But as you mentioned, I'm a medium. And so I was, everywhere I go, there's something, right? Because there's
Yeah,
spirit
yeah,
everywhere, which is kind of the whole point of the show that we just did, is that spirit is everywhere.
yeah.
And there are no times of day or no days of the week that they're more active overall.
That's
So
very true.
Yeah, that's how I got into it. I moved to another state and was automatically kind of just moved into this group through a friend. So, how about you? How did you get into it?
Me, many, many years ago. When would it have been? It might have been around 2002 or 2003. I can't quite remember. But prior to that, I've always had like an interest in old buildings, derelict buildings, and things like that. And it was going to an event and watching various paranormal shows that were just starting to come onto TV. And I was sort of like starting to blossom with the mediumship at that point. I was starting to take it a bit more seriously. And so I was intrigued and I went along to a public event and that was very interesting. And I believe it was one Halloween, so it was
Hmm.
all the cliches were there. But nevertheless, I was intrigued and I was witnessing my own mediumship, picking up on things that weren't being mentioned. And I thought, hang on, there's something in this. I quite enjoy this. And I spoke to various friends of mine that I was developing in a
Hmm.
mediumship circle. And they put together a little event where we went around a plague village. And so we was all working together doing that as mediums. And I really enjoyed that. We was capturing photographs and, using some of the equipment. And it kind of stemmed from there. And one of the guys from there set up his own little organization where he put on his own events. And so I went along, and again, we got to go all over the place, various locations. And in fact, another friend invited me along to some of his explorations where they went on unorganized events, if you know what I mean. And they sort
Yeah.
of investigated derelict buildings and things where quite possibly you would never get the opportunity to go and visit. So that's how I got into it initially, and it's kind of stemmed from there. And I find for me, and obviously yourself, it
Hmm.
kind of stems hand in hand with the mediumship, and it's just that curiosity, I think, as well, that makes
Yeah.
you keep going and staying awake till like 4 a.m. and then
For
driving. It's like curiosity and that sort of dopamine hit.
and maybe just a hint of insanity. I'm just saying,
Well, yeah, a little pinch of insanity never
a
hurt
little pinch of
anybody.
insanity, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
definitely.
that's great. So when you go to look for a uh, look for paranormal activity, is there certain places that you look? Is there what are the maybe the flags that come up to tell you, hey, there's something going on in this location?
Okay. Well, I mean, you've got your overly sort of investigated locations that are known, globally.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to do any of that. But I prefer, if I'm honest, I prefer places that haven't been flagged up by anybody
Oh,
for
me
being
too.
paranormal. And what I look for is generally that goosebump feeling.
Mm-hmm.
When energy is wanting to interact with you, you feel it straight away. You inquire with your guides. And if you're lucky enough, with your guide's permission, you can get a direct link with whoever or whatever, or if the
Mm-hmm.
energy is interacting with you. So I like that. I find I'm a person that doesn't like to follow rules and follow the herd anyway. So
You
to
don't say.
less of your cheek, you. So yeah. So, anyway, so yeah, I look for that. The chills, the shifts in energy,
Okay.
portals, vortexes, and if I'm stood there having a conversation with somebody, and the next minute I'm swaying backwards and forwards, that's an obvious indicator. Sometimes visuals, you can catch things out the corner of your eye when you're just walking down the
Mm-hmm.
street, and you're like, what did I just? Surely there was a man standing there and there's nobody there. I love that. And obviously the audibles and, listening out for intelligent communication, the knocks and the bangs. And so, yeah, the
Yeah.
lesser known venues, I much more prefer because it feels like fresh territory. and there's no
I
rules.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree with that. There's also times, like when you're walking and you just start limping and you don't even notice.
Oh, I was just working on that today, actually.
Were
That
you?
scene I was, yes.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. Cool. Cool. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Like, I mean, I'm walking right next to Glenn. All of a sudden, he's just like limping, and I'm like, "Dude, you okay? Like, are you all right? Because you're limping." And that was weird. That was interesting. Yeah,
That was interesting. So, what
yeah.
about yourself? What do you look for in a
Um,
paranormal location or
I'm usually pretty visual, and
okay?
I will catch things out of the corner of my eye. And a few times, I've even seen like I guess what we would consider ghosts, but I see them solid, almost like I see them, but other people don't. And I'm like, why don't you see this person standing
Yeah.
right here in front of us? So that doesn't happen to me a lot, but it's almost like looking into a different dimension, like and sometimes they notice me and sometimes they don't. So it's really kind of like that. But also, I pay attention to the goosebumps, or I'll just be drawn where I'll just go, somebody over there, like even driving past a building. Sometimes I'll pick
Well,
it
you
up.
you slam on the brakes.
I do not slam on the brakes. No, no. We don't need any more people joining that world because I saw something. Okay. So, um, no, I don't necessarily slam on the brakes, but I'll pick up vibes. I'll pick up energies, or I'll hear somebody say something. It's not usually a full conversation, but a few words just to get my attention. I and it again, it's not dependent on time of day or day of the week. It's just whenever. And I'll just sometimes I'm driving, sometimes I'm walking, sometimes I'll just be sitting on the beach, and all of a sudden there's somebody sitting next to me, and how you doing? Nobody else can see them. It's really just I don't know. I guess that's how I just notice. I just pay attention to what my senses are telling me. And it's not always, I don't prefer the pay to play locations, especially the ones that have been so overdone, you know?
Yeah, because yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm going to go to one of those, like Ashmore Estates is one that's been pretty overdone, but I went there knowing nothing because I don't like to know information before I get somewhere. I don't want to know what the history is because that can give me the idea that those are the ghosts that I'm supposed to be talking to. And typically, I don't usually get the famous ones, you know? I
Mm.
don't get the kings. I don't get the landowners. I get like the servants and the people who are not treated well or whatever. I mean, those are generally the people that I get. So going to Ashmore Estates was I was like, well, I don't know. There are people here who've not been treated well. And then they told me what the place was. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, nobody was treated well. It was just not a good place to be. But yeah, that's kind of how I pay attention to it, is just whatever comes through to me.
I
For
like
what,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think you touched upon an interesting part there with you know, shall we say the lower orders of society, are they, drawn to you? They're wanting, because nobody's really listened to them in life.
Right.
They're wanting their story to be heard, and it gives them that
Hmm.
opportunity to come forward and also to release themselves if they are stuck in or trapped in that vibration because of
Right.
not having that opportunity to share it. So you would be the perfect, obviously, vessel candidate, ray of light for them to be drawn to.
Hmm.
So you're offering, wonderful service to those spirits that are needing that.
Right. They just want to be acknowledged, you know?
Oh, definitely.
Um, okay. So I don't know if you remember, but when you were being beamed in from England at Ashmore Estates, and we were
Yeah,
in that basement workroom area next to the boiler room, and I mentioned that there was a little boy in the corner. Do you remember that?
vaguely. Yeah, it's
Okay.
been a couple of weeks. I've been to bed since
Yeah.
then, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know you're getting some sleep.
A little, a little.
So I went. back, just me, into that room. And he was still there standing in the corner. And he was being very, very quiet. And this
Okay.
was a little African boy. So
Hmm.
he was about 5 years old. And I'm like, you know, I went in to talk to him. I'm like, are you okay? Do you need help? And he just kept going, shh. I finally got him to talk. I'm like, okay, all the people who were probably going to try to hurt you, they're all long dead. They died a long time ago. You're safe with me. It's okay. And then he started opening up, and he had been told to hide in that corner because his family had escaped from
Okay.
slavery.
Yeah.
So we're going back, you know, quite a ways, probably 100, more than 100 years. And it was just really interesting because he's like, but I have to be quiet. And
Oh, okay.
I'm like, no, you don't have to be quiet anymore. But you also don't have to stay standing in this corner anymore either. You've been here for a long time. And apparently I'm the only person who ever noticed this kid because a lot of people investigate the building, but they're just looking for evidence that comes through on equipment. They're not necessarily tuning in
Yeah.
with intuition. And so I'm like, do you want someone to come and get you? And he nodded his head. And I said, who would you like to come and get you? And he said, Big Sister. I said, okay, what's her name? And he told me her name. And I called, her name was Lulu. And I called Lulu, and she just came right in and said, there you are. And she picked him up and scooped him up, and off they went.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that is, I know there are a lot of places. I don't know if it's the same in England, but I know here it's like you're not allowed to do spirit releases. What?
Yeah, yeah, because it's obviously
Uh,
their trade, it's their business, isn't it?
and I get that. I get
Yeah,
that you have a business, and I get that that's how you're keeping the building standing, but I have a moral issue with that,
yeah,
you know, with keeping them enslaved, basically. But I have had conversations with spirits in different locations. They're like, no, we just come and go, play the game. It's kind of an
yeah.
agreement we have. So that made me feel a little bit better about it. But that little boy did not have that agreement, and nobody else had noticed him. So I let him.
I suppose in a way, if he's hiding, if he's being quiet, he was purposely not wanting to be found because
Right,
his mindset was he was still in that timeline, wasn't he? So he
right,
wouldn't have been aware of that fact if it hadn't been for you picking up on his vibration.
right. Yeah. I don't know.
Fantastic.
I don't know what it is, but I tune into the ones other people don't see. And um, I'm just glad that he got to go be with his family. So
I bet he was so relieved. But it was an emotional experience for you, witnessing that,
it it really
that
was.
connection with him and his family.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. So so that
Wow.
was one of my favorite adventures recently. What about, well, I mean, oh my gosh. We had a lot of adventures together, but what's been one of your favorite paranormal adventures?
Mine, oof, so many to choose from.
I know, right?
One
That's why I picked a
interesting,
recent one.
yeah, one interesting one many years ago was at the Newsham Park Hospital in Liverpool, which is a derelict sort of mental asylum. And
Okay.
then it was also a children's home, I believe, before that, you know, beginning of the 1900s, I believe. I'm not, fully up on the dates, but anyway, what they had there in the upper corridors is they had a naughty boys and girls corridor. And if you imagine the apex of a roof like that, what they'd done in the side of that roof there was like cupboards, with doors, fully sized doors. And you open one of those doors, and there was like standing room only. And what they
Oh,
would do, if anybody was misbehaving, they would lock them in there. And, standing room only, you can't really do a lot. And so they was there, and they'd be crying, screaming, and they'd be there until they learnt the lesson, so to speak, or they were allowed to
hmm,
come out.
right.
So that is there. And we did hear footsteps running up and down that corridor. But one thing that I did find fascinating about that venue was we went in the basement area, and in the basement area they used there was like a small canteen where some of the hospital workers would sit, and also the caretaker's room as well. I believe we went in the caretaker's room, and there was like lots of chairs stacked up on one another. There was old sort of furniture, and then there was like cookers and things like that. We sat in a circle in that room, and just behind us, this is where there were stacked up chairs, and there were other chairs that were just singular chairs in the room. Well, we were calling out and asking for people to come forward and make their presence known. And we heard this noise, and we're all looking around. We're trying to direct where that sound source is coming from. It was coming from behind the circle in the other side of the room, where one of these single chairs was seen by all of us physically moving with nobody around it, nobody touching it or anything, because we were all in the circle, and it was like, that was pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
And
wow.
I would say a recent one, if I can share this quickly with you, is again, we was at Dudley Castle this weekend that's just gone. And we was a combination of equipment was using the is it K2 meters and several, I think there was 3 in a line, the cat balls there, and is it REM pods as well, I believe, that we was using. And upon getting there, we was getting some interactions. We deciphered just by calling out and looking at the equipment for yes, no responses, that it was a female that was coming through. And she looked pretty aggravated because she was moving these lights pretty aggressively. And so anyway, I managed to tune in to her vibration, had some dialogue, and we got her name, and we found out why she was there, and the fact that she was looking for a lost love. So we tapped in, we got her lost love to come forward, we got his name, and we got him to confirm it was him by either knocking on the walls or using some of the electronic devices to prove that it was him and he was connected to the lady. And that was happening. What did happen after that is a bit of a, shall we say, a reconnection, because they wanted to be reunited, because there was vibrating on different vibrations. They wasn't aware of one another, even though they was searching for one another. So we managed to get that happen, and we asked for confirmation through the devices, which we got, that they were reunited. My guides let me know that as well. But what was interesting, as we were looking at these devices, they were set up in front of a doorway, and this doorway had a corridor to the left of it. Well, we was looking at these devices, both myself and a colleague, we saw a lady's foot and ankle come from the side of that doorway in full view. And we saw it move and come up like that. And then it just went. And
that's awesome.
My colleague said, did you just, I said, yeah, I've just seen that foot. Yeah. He says, I thought I was just seeing things. I said, no, it was a lady's foot. He says, yeah, that's right. Well, the way I would describe it is, if you imagine when a male and female, they're very much in love, have that warm embrace, and, they interact. In the old movies, they used to do it where the lady would cock one of her legs up. It was like that was happening just out of eye shot of the doorway, but we saw her leg and her foot come up. So that was pretty epic.
Wow.
And it was beautiful to be involved in that, actually, to reunite them in that way, be that bridge. Great evidence. Really cool. So yeah, there's a couple, but there's many, many more, as I'm sure they are. With you as well.
We could sit here and tell stories all day.
Scare the bejesus out of all the viewers and the listeners.
Speaking of scaring people, like, what advice would you give to people who want to get involved in paranormal investigation? Like, what kind of advice would you give to what to expect, maybe?
Okay, well, first of all, I would say don't go in there all guns blazing. expecting to see and capture everything. It's a very slow process. You have to be patient. If you go in all guns blazing, you may start to think that you've seen something or heard something when actual fact it could be a leaky tap on site. Mm-hmm. And you've been talking and communicating with a leaky tap for probably about an hour and a half, and you've been so excited about it. So you have got to do all of your baseline checks before you start checking the location. But patience is key, I would say. So if you're not a patient person, then it might not be for you, because you're going to have to spend some time in sensory deprivation where you're in pitch black, where you have to sit there very, very quiet. And in actual fact, it enhances all of your faculties so that you're able to connect and pick up. So you have to be able to do that and sit quite comfortably without being freaked out over the slightest of things. But I would say patience is key, and just chip away at it, and you'll learn as you go. And you'll learn from your mistakes, and then next time you'll maybe do the checks first, or you'll kick back a little bit rather than being overly excited, because that can add. I feel when people are overly excited, obviously you're creating and generating energy, emotion. Mm-hmm. That's transmitting out into the ether. So potentially, this is just a theory, that excitement energy could be picked up by another sensitive and automatically assume that it's a spirit interacting with them, right, when it could be the energy of the group that's doing it in the first place. So yeah, a few little tips there. What about yourself, Kristina? What's your advice to people?
My big thing is, first of all, don't go alone. I mean, if you're intentionally going out to do paranormal investigation and you're not part of a team, take somebody with you who's, first of all, not going to be screaming all the time. Who doesn't startle that easily. I mean, we all get startled, but don't take a thrill seeker with you. But don't go alone, because typically, even though spirit is available at all times, most people go at night, right? And if you're going at night, you might not be able to see what you're going to trip over. I mean, let's just address the physical things first. Right? The physical thing is, if you get injured and you're by yourself and you can't move, you're kind of in a tough spot. So I would always say bring a buddy with you. If you're not part of an investigative team. I know that when I started doing paranormal investigation, it wasn't about selling tickets. It was about helping people. And so we always went in with protecting yourselves energetically, making sure that you're wearing proper footwear. Like, you don't want to be wearing those flip-floppy sandals or whatever, I've seen people break toes and all kinds of stuff because they're not wearing like the right footwear, and they trip over something. And, wear proper footwear, wear tennis shoes or what you would call trainers. Hiking boots, but wear proper footwear. I mean, so if you set yourself up to be physically safe, then you can be more open to spirit, because you're not so worried about getting hurt or whatever. Yeah. Along with that, stay away from private property unless you have permission. As my first, actually the first time that I went to a location, and at that time we weren't even, this was in the 1980s, we weren't even using the words paranormal investigation at that point, right? So there was just a load of people between like 18 and 20, two big van loads of people went to this abandoned insane asylum, and we didn't have permission to be there. It was posted all over the place, do not enter. There was a caretaker living next door who started shooting. Wow. Like with a gun. Like, I mean, obviously he shot over our heads because there was about 30 of us. I mean, if he was shooting at us, he would have hit somebody. But shooting over our heads to scare us off.
Yeah.
So, be careful. I mean, best case scenario, the police are called. The worst case scenario, somebody's going to shoot at you. you know?
Wow. You don't
So
do things by halves, do you, over there?
it's crazy. We're just not even getting into that. That is a whole different discussion. But yeah, I'm just saying, take precautions, take safety precautions first, and then enjoy the paranormal investigation. But yeah, it takes patience. Nobody goes in and has all of the activity that you see on a 30-minute TV show. All of that stuff is edited. It's all, you might have a whole night of sitting there and one thing happens, but that one thing goes into the TV show.
Yeah.
So if you're going to seriously consider doing this, be patient, make sure that that your motives are that you're just, curious, history buff, want to tell their stories, because that's always my thing. I always want, do you want someone to know your story? Because I am happy to share it.
That's a beautiful thing, yeah. And in doing so, as we've previously mentioned, we're helping
Yeah.
that spirit to maybe release
Yeah.
themselves if they're wanting to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Some great advice there. I think you touched upon a very important part of that was protection, and a lot of people go. Obviously, they drive to these locations, all excited, all ramped up, and I would suggest that you do the protection before you leave your home, before you even get in your car. And you do
Right.
this by setting intentions, asking
Mm-hmm.
spirit, asking the universe, your higher self, to put you in this protection, and set some intentions, what you're willing, what you're not willing to accept in this
Right.
experience, because that will shape your evening. I would say you'll be more safer. You'll be more connected with energy. There's various techniques that you can use to
Mm-hmm.
heighten your vibration. I would certainly recommend, if you're driving to a location, put some bangers on, put some amazing music on the playlist on the way there. Get yourself singing as a group there, as a collective. Have fun,
Yeah.
have laughter. This will heighten your vibration, and you will find that you'll be more hypersensitive when you arrive at that venue. And in doing so, you will pick up
Good
on
advice.
genuine interactions from
Mm-hmm.
spirit. And I'm sure you'll agree as well, Kristina, that spirit aren't always right in your face like that. It's
No.
very, very subtle. So you have to know yourself as an individual, who you are as a person, what you like, what you don't like, how you feel physically, emotionally, what your mental thoughts are. Your mentality is part of this process. And then once you're aware of all of those things, then you'll be open to the sensitive communications from spirit. Like we say, it's
Right.
very subtle. So you have to be paying attention. And we spoke of, actually, before we came onto this episode, about paranormal hangovers. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my theories is
Oh.
why a lot of his investigators and
Yeah.
psychics and mediums have these, is part of that process is because we're so focused, hyper focused on how we're feeling, what we're feeling
Yeah.
physically, our thoughts, what we're smelling, what we're tasting. And it's like on overdrive. So the littlest thing that comes into our bubble, our energy bubble, we're noticing it. And not only
Right.
that, we're picking up on the energies of the ley lines, the land, the history, um, spirit beings that are coming in, spirit beings that are just there, maybe energy trails that are there. And so it creates this thick soup, and we're interacting with it. It's like trying to watch, I would say, on a TV, 50 channels at the same time.
Yeah.
It's overwhelm.
It can be overwhelming. Yeah.
And so the day after a paranormal event, this is where what we call is a paranormal hangover, where you're just recovering.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming back down to earth slightly. You're grounding your energy, and you're just getting connected with your reality because you've been hypersensitive. So that's something to look out for if you do or are thinking of going on a paranormal event, or trying something
Right.
yourself there. Very important.
It's going to maybe feel like you've been out drinking all night the next day. you know,
It is weird,
it
yeah.
yeah, it is weird. I mean, it's like you get lightheaded. You're like unfocused and a slight headache and maybe even a little nausea just because of all the energy that you came in contact with that you don't normally come in contact with. So it affects your energy.
And you get the munchies as well.
Yeah, the munchies too. Yeah.
Yeah, you eat a load of rubbish to try and build yourself back up again, don't you?
I would suggest clean proteins, but I
Well,
don't always do that, but that's
they're
what I
not
would
always available.
suggest.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's briefly talk about our project and working together when you came over to the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh,
Let's talk about that. I got to try to do
oh,
this without knocking my screen
have I
over.
got to do the
But
striptease song? Da, 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 da. So you
there
need
it
to,
is.
yeah, we can't
Yeah.
see
Can
it.
you
You
see
need to
it? Bend down more
up
or
a
stand
bit,
up more?
up a bit, up, stand up. There we go. Yeah, there it is.
There it is. I wasn't
So
quite sure where it was on my back.
yeah, that's our show, our project together called
Yep.
Into the Void.
Yep.
And so Kristina came over to the UK in May, June, early June.
End of May. Yeah, end of May.
Yeah. And so during that period of time, we put together and filmed quite a lot of content, enough to facilitate 10 episodes for our first series of Into the Void, where
In 5 days.
we did 2 episodes a day.
2 episodes a day. So it's good to know I'm not the only crazy person.
No, no.
It took both of us. Yeah. Yeah. That was an adventure and it was a wonderful experience.
It was
And
incredible.
yeah, we contact a lot of different kinds of entities, spirits.
There was all sorts. There was the fake
Yeah.
community. We discovered portals, vortexes. There was aliens as well, as we would
Aliens.
term them.
Yes. ETs. Yeah.
Galactic family. That's probably a more precise term.
Right.
Um, but yeah, there was all manner of people from all walks of life, different
Hmm.
timelines that we got
Yeah.
to communicate with in spirit.
Right. And the thespians, I have to tell you, the thespians really like Glenn.
Don't know what you mean, darling.
That was so cute watching you blush.
Oh yeah, honestly, it was yeah. They were lovely, lovely people, honestly.
They were, yeah.
So accommodating. And we went to all manner of locations, didn't we, around the
Hmm.
UK.
We did.
And what I enjoyed about that, again, it's the areas that you don't perceive to be haunted or paranormal. And when
Right.
we tapped into that and we were both getting those hits, it was like, whoa, you just felt that? Yep.
Yep.
It was
Yeah, we did that a
incredible.
lot. Yeah. Did you just feel that? Yeah.
It was
That was pretty
incredible.
awesome. Yeah.
So this series is a series of 10 episodes. Each episode is 30 minutes in length, where we share our mediumship and interact and work together, connecting with, like we say, the land, spirits, entities, whoever's there. And we're
Right.
not sort of putting a filter on, are we? We're just being
No.
open and honest. And, what we pick up, we pick up. We're not sort of making anything fit. And one of the
Right.
things that we like to sort of pride ourselves on, if you will, is we don't want to know anything about those locations, no history, no folk tales or nothing. We just turn up
Right.
there as a blank slate, and what we're picking up, that's what is then given onto the show. So I really enjoyed that method of working.
I did too. I did
Mm,
too. I really enjoyed working with someone who is also an accomplished medium because often, it's like when I'm on an investigation, I'm coaching and letting people who are just learning
yeah.
really take over. And I love watching their excitement, but then I just kind of stand there and don't do look I look like I'm not doing anything even though I'm, a little bit of coaching here and there. But with us working together, we're pretty much on the same level. So
Mm,
it was kind of a back and forth all the time, and almost a banter sometimes with some of the spirits that we encountered. It was
yeah.
fun, and it was lighthearted in many cases. Not every case, but in many cases, it was kind of fun and lighthearted, and it was just, oh, thank you for talking to me because your people are always talking to that one over there.
Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
sense of humor with some of the
Mm-hmm.
spirits there. There was a few spirits that were a little bit resistant to tell
Mm-hmm.
us too much. But you have to respect that, don't you? And
Right.
hopefully that reflects on the series there. I
Mm-hmm.
certainly hope that it opens people up to the fact that spirit is and are everywhere, and
Right.
you can communicate with them. Obviously, if you train and if you honor your sensitivity, you know who you are as an individual,
Right.
then you can work with that and get these connections like Kristina and myself did on these locations.
Yeah. And I would like to point out all of our locations were done during the day.
There were, yes, and I think
Yes.
that is a good point because many, like you've said, many people assume that you have to go in the evening, and I would say
Mm-hmm.
the only reason for the evening ones is because the day is winding down. There's less noise, there's less stimulation, and you're more inclined to focus, which kind of draws me into one of the episodes that we did. And we'll say the location. It was Stonehenge,
Yeah.
and it was daytime, and it was full on tourist mode. Thousands of
Oh
people
my
there.
gosh. Thousands of people there. Yeah. It took some work to filter out
Yeah,
the living people and their spirits, like their family members or loved ones or whatever. I mean, it took some work on our part to really focus on the land and the the history. I mean, even though nobody really knows why they're there, I mean, there are a lot of theories as far as I
yeah.
understand, but to be able to kind of block out all of the tourists and just focus on the spirits that were there initially.
You're quite right. It did take a lot of concentration and focus.
Hmm.
And towards towards the end of filming there, don't know about you, but I wasn't aware of there was that many people there until we got on the coach back down
Right.
and I was like, what the heck? The coach was
Because we did a
packed.
good job of blocking them out. Yeah.
Yeah. And we just, we respectfully moved to one side and, we
Hmm.
went where we felt we were called to stand and connect. But we did that beautifully. I thought,
I thought
uninterrupted.
so.
We got some amazing footage, some wonderful and weird like information from some of the spirits there
Hmm.
and from the land and the ley lines that were there.
Right.
So
And, I mean, I posted pictures online, right, on
yeah.
Facebook, and people are like, wow, wasn't there anybody else there? And I'm like, yeah, there were thousands of people there, but even in the pictures, those people didn't show up. Like we
Wow.
really had them kind of blocked out. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was interesting. It's yeah, what we're gonna do with the show, we're gonna promote it, aren't we, and get it out on some sort of TV channel.
Right.
We're looking for a home for it once it's fully produced. So if
Yes.
anybody's listening out there that's intrigued,
Yeah.
do get in touch with both of us.
Hmm.
We're open to conversations with you and taking it further, definitely.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we got some really good stuff and we got some really good communication. And I feel like that there are some stories that really needed to be told. And,
There's some rescue missions in the series
hmm
as well, wasn't there?
there were a few. Yeah. Yep,
Mm.
there were.
Out of the locations, then, what was your favorite, your personal favorite that we went to and worked together?
I'm going to say Stratford on Avon because it
Snap.
was so entertaining.
Yes,
S-
snap.
Yeah. But it was so entertaining, I mean, because the spirits there were just so willing to talk with us and share their stories. And they were just so exuberant about sharing their stories. And I just really loved it. I mean, theater folk, I guess, are like that for the most part, but yeah, it was fun. And also, was it Doncaster
Oh,
Castle?
the castle. Yes, you did some
Yeah,
channeling there,
I
didn't
did
you?
some channeling there,
Mm.
but that was interesting starting out because I don't know where I was, but it wasn't in my body when we were first starting out, where I was just kind of like just not there.
Yeah,
It was
you
weird.
was a bit
Yeah.
quiet, and anybody that knows you knows that you're not a quiet person. And to see you quiet was quite strange.
Yeah. Probably concerning on your
I was
part
there
too.
doing that with my ears. There's something wrong with my ears.
But no, I mean it was fun. It was the whole thing, I mean just the way that you set it up because you're the one who set it up. You know, you set up like where I mean we got online and we went over a map and all of that, but you had it set up as far as like you were driving and we were just driving around together for 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. I don't know. It was
Mm.
a long time, but it didn't seem like a long time. It was like, boom,
No,
we're done. Oh, I'm getting on a plane to go home now. Wow, that was fast. But it was fun. It was, we had fun like in between when it was time to work, we worked and but in between we were just joking and laughing and
oh
having fun.
yes,
It was
yeah,
a good time and I feel like the energy that you and I share between us really fed into that. You know, really fed into
definitely, yeah,
the
that blend.
filming and yeah, all of that. And it was fun watching you have your first contact with ETs. That was interesting.
Well, yeah, the first one by the seaside.
By the
That's all I'm saying.
seaside.
I
Yeah.
would have never imagined that, never in a million
Yeah.
years. So to find that, it's hard to describe it to the viewers and listeners without giving the game away too much because we
Right.
want you to watch it, and we will.
We want you to watch it. Yeah.
When we've got the right home for the show, we will share the bejesus out of the
Oh,
link
yeah.
where you can find it and watch it and enjoy it like we did creating it
Right.
with
Yeah.
spirit. I've got to say,
With
it was a
spirit. Oh, yeah.
collective.
It was definitely a collective, and your spirit guides and my spirit guides working together it was amazing for me to witness that. It
It
was
was
pretty cool.
interesting. I think we had
Yeah.
a conversation on one of the episodes where we was talking about that some of the spirits that we were talking to knew that we'd be showing up in that location at that time, and they was told to come and talk to us. And we was like,
Yes.
"What? How did you know?" And they say, "Oh, we knew several weeks ago. We got told." Like, really? Weeks in your time? Yes, weeks. And we're like, "Wow, we didn't even realize we were going to make this link with you."
No,
Um,
no, not at all. We went in blind, basically cold, whatever you want to say, without information. So, yeah, that was interesting.
So yeah, even though we thought we were doing all the planning and all the organizing,
Yeah.
were
Silly
we
us.
really? It was
Yeah.
already orchestrated, and we were just tapping in and saying, "Oh, I've got an idea. We'll go to that place." But really, Spirit had the idea, whew, came through us,
Oh, yeah, right through
and
us. Yeah.
yeah. So
S-
it's still in production.
mhm.
It will be worth the wait, definitely for you all to watch, definitely,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we hope it captures your imagination and just brings that interest in the paranormal field.
Right. Question for you. What was your favorite location?
I'm inclined to agree with you, Stratford upon Avon. Um, what made that interesting, like you said, was the interactions that we had. We were told actually upon making our way to that location that we had to relax and chill out in that location because it would be
Yeah.
very subtle. We needed to get, instead of being hyper about recording this episode, we had to chill out. And in doing so, instantly we got so many communications. Some of
Yeah.
those communications, there were that many, didn't make the episode for that location because obviously we have to choose, for the show.
Right.
But there were so many, and that was incredible. I did enjoy that for the fun, the laughter, the
Hmm.
guidance that we got there, and it was a mixed bag really of communicators. Another one of my favorites. I'm a sucker for this location. I've always liked it. Glastonbury. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that, and I thought the energies there are incredible, and to just manage to capture that in daylight hours in the main town center as well was
Yes. Yeah.
incredible.
There was a lot of really incredible communication there.
And
Yeah.
can you share this with the viewers and listeners? There was an amazing bit of evidence that we unfortunately we didn't realize until the day after, where you had a communication with a lady in
Yeah.
Glastonbury. Would you like to take
Right.
it from here and tell people?
Sure. I will
Yeah.
take it from here. It was a young lady who died decades ago of a drug overdose, and she was in her early 20s. She gave me a lot of information. Um, she gave me she gave me more information than I realized she had, and because afterwards, when we were walking around, when we were done filming and just going in and out of stores, she was still with me and telling me, mm-mm, "Not this one, mm-mm, not that one. Yeah, go in that one, go in that one." So she was still with me. But the next day, remember, she died of a drug overdose. I woke up with track marks on my left arm. And I remember showing him to Glenn, and he was just like, "What?"
It was unreal.
It
There
was unreal. There were track marks on my left arm from
was it
like
three
needle
or
marks.
four? Yeah, three or
It was,
four
yeah,
in
I
there,
was
that
like
part.
3 or 4 right in here. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, it
Unreal
was
to get that
crazy.
evidence. Wow.
Yeah, it was, and I felt no pain with it. It wasn't uncomfortable. There was no pain with it, but yeah, that was like the second time that I had gotten physical evidence of communication or contact, because a few days before that, something grabbed my ankle and I woke up the next day with a bruise around my ankle.
Well, I remember you showing me that as well. And you was
Yeah.
like, there's no way that this could have appeared, and it was perfect, like sort of circle.
Yeah.
And I think I commented it looked like, the shackles of like chains around what
Hmm.
they would do with prisoners. It looked like a perfect ring, like there was an iron ring or something.
Right. Around my
Yeah.
ankle. And that lasted for a couple of days. So,
Wow.
yeah.
You
But
took
again,
one.
no pain with it.
You took one for the team on this
I
series,
did.
didn't you?
That's what I don't normally get that level of physical evidence, but yeah, that was interesting. So,
And unfortunately, I developed a bit of acne. That's what I
yeah.
took for the team. I got this spot here, and I was like, "How the hell have I got that?" So apologies for anybody watching the show when it comes out. What's wrong with that? Got a bit of a spot there that came from nowhere.
That was weird. That because it did just like appear from nowhere. That was weird.
I put it down to bad diet because I was living on pot noodles and, and
Yeah, well there you
that
go.
kind of
Yeah,
food.
we were not eating super healthy that week. So,
No, but
but
yeah,
between your little friend here and my witchy hair, we were just
yeah, perfect
there we were,
partnership.
very real, very real. Like there was no makeup people, no hair people,
No,
just yep,
just us.
just us. Yep, yeah.
So, Christina, this episode has been an amazing deep dive, lots of
It
fun as
has been.
always. So, I'd
Yeah.
like to extend that invitation to let people know how they can connect with you, how they can book in with you, find out more about where you're going to
Yeah.
be.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Uh, sit back. It's a tidal wave of information. You can you can book in with me through my website, KristinaBloom.com. This is all video now, right? Yeah.
It's video, yeah.
Video. So it's just my name.com. Scroll down on the front page of the website, and there's a place at the bottom where you can request an appointment time. So, interestingly enough, I did not realize that while I was in England, my scheduler went down on my website.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. After I got back, I found that out. But so let's see. This coming weekend, I am going to be at the Connecticut Paracon, the CT Paracon in Waterbury, Connecticut.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'll be meeting up with my new producer there and all the bigwigs from All Access Network. television. So I will be meeting with those people this weekend, and I'm super excited about that. And let's see, after that is on July 15th, I will be actually with my producer doing psychic readings at a store in Sharon, Pennsylvania. And the name of the store just went out of my head. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then after that is Paranormal Rockdown back in Wisconsin the following weekend.
I love that
So
title.
I know, right? Well, it's starting with a rock concert on Friday night.
Cool.
So yeah, there's like 4 bands, and I'll send you the information. I know you're just going to hop right on a plane and come on over.
Of course.
Wow. Then let's see. After that, I will be in northern Wisconsin doing psychic readings and a gallery, or as you call platform mediumship. August 2nd, I'm in Eau Claire doing a seance and readings. So my next weekend off is the last weekend in August. So every weekend I have an event between now and the end of summer.
Wow. When do you sleep?
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Oh, okay. All right. So you factored that in the schedule.
I factored that into the schedule. You know, it's when I say I'm traveling every weekend, most people tend to think, well, I'm working all week too. And I am. I mean, I'm taking clients during the week, but it's only 1 or 2 a day usually. So it doesn't take up all of my time. So yeah, that's how you, and then of course, Facebook, you can catch my show, Paramystic Podcast with Kristina Bloom and my lovely co-host, Glenn Boddice, on my YouTube channel. So there's that. And that also now is going out to 8 other places simultaneously because I am connected with All Access Network Television. So
awesome.
yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Kristina.
And where can we find you, Glenn?
I'm here. No, actually, if you'd like to book in with a reading or any other of my services, you can head over to my website, www.glennboddicespiritualmedium.com. You can also click on the link in my bios and all of my social media, and you can book in directly with me there or via my website. There's also classes on there for you to take part in. There's courses on there, there's meditations, there's albums, there is healing albums, there's all of these episodes from Beyond with Glenn Boddice and with co-host Kristina Bloom are also on my website as well. So you can catch up and listen to them there. If you have missed any of the other episodes and this is your first time viewing, go and check the vibe out of the show. There's always something to learn and expand your knowledge base on. So that's how you can get in contact with me if you so wish to do so. So Kristina, this has been an absolute amazing episode.
It's been fun.
I can't believe how fast time has flown. In fact, I think we've gone over the hour, but do you know what? It has been just gold, and it's just been worth it. Definitely. So thank you for joining us. And I'd like to wish all of the viewers, the listeners, a wonderful week ahead. May you do anything that brings your heart joy and happiness, and, do it with love, do it with pride, and shine your beautiful light as far and wide as you can. Any last remaining words of advice, Kristina?
If there's something that you want to see on the show or on my show, send us an email, send us a messenger message. Let us know what you'd like to hear about.
And on that note, thank you very much. And I will look forward to connecting with you next month.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Take care. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to glennbodicespiritualmedium.com.